Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, for your pleasure, I'm playing the CM11. What is the CM11, you might ask? Glad you asked. This is one of only 5 Chinese rank 6 vehicles. One of them is obviously the premium T62, and in this case, the CM11 is the second highest battle rating Chinese tank with a battle rating of 9.3. It is the left end of the line tech tree tank, with the right end of the line tank being the ZTZ96 with a battle rating of 9.7. So what do you think about this tank? Well, I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. There are great things about this tank, there are not so great things about this tank, and it all can be reflected with statistics. So as you can see, I have here a rather short video. It's a little bit of a gameplay compilation, and it shows some of the more successful scenes with this tank. I have to begin the story with the engine sound because I really hate this American tank engine sound. I really do hate it. It sounds like a dying cat. Wow, wow. And I really began to hate this when I played back in the days where I tried to stock grind the M48. The lack of mobility, the ineffective armor, and the firepower also leaves things to be desired, especially the stock grind with APCR was god awful. And while the tank has a significantly better stock grind, the problem still stays here with the mobility. Let's begin with that, shall we? The tank has a 750 horsepower strong engine that should propel the 50.4 ton tank, and that leaves us with a horsepower to ton ratio of just under 15 in a meta where a lot of tanks have 20 plus, even approaching 30 horsepower per ton ratio. You can see where this is going. It's not really the best mobility. I'd say it's below average. Again, this tank shares the battle rating with, for example, the CM11 premium tank that you come across quite often. So the tank is sluggish, slow, can't really maneuver all that well. Top speed is limited to 48 kilometers per hour, which you can only achieve on a paved road and or downhill. And also in turning, reacting quickly to situations, it's not the best. Yeah, then let's talk about the armor. Is it making up for it? No, not really. I mean, yeah, the tank has some add-on era protection armor, but it doesn't really help effectively because the usual places, first of all, the side of the hull and also the turret ring in most parts, as well as the area around the gun barrel, gun breech, has a lot of gaps in terms of protection, is completely unprotected, and so yeah, it's not really effective. And it also, if it absorbs a heat shell, well, then it's gone, right? So the era protection is not great. Then it has no composite armor whatsoever, right? It's only steel armor, so it's maybe good enough to deflect shots from SPAs. It's probably good enough versus some APAG shots, but versus APFSTS and most heat FS rounds, no, not really. You get panned anyway. The tank also is pretty big, pretty huge, and there are not that many slopes where certain shells can deflect. So those are pretty poor statistics so far. What about the firepower? Well, it's okayish. You have a 105mm M68A1 cannon, which it shares with the M1 Abrams, the first one at 10.0. With it comes not only a decent stabilizer and a 5-second reload, but also a variety of very interesting ammunition. And yeah, so 5-second reload with a completely trained ace crew is great, so you're on par or even better than some of the higher battle rating tanks even. So this is great, right? Then let's talk about the gun handling, and this is then a bit iffy. So the stabilizer is great, it's pretty accurate, and then you have only 22.5 degrees per second turret rotation speed. That's not good. And only 4 degrees per second of gun elevation speed is also pretty tragic outside of the realms of the stabilizer, and that you get killed in certain situations if you have to go over rough terrain, and other enemies just don't have this issue. So again, we have the problem to get the gun on target, but once you have it on target, what ammunition do we actually have available? Well, as a stock shell, this is a kind of a relief. You have the M735 APFSTS with 1501 meters per second mass velocity, which is pretty nice, and 353 millimeters of penetration. Not quite positive normalization, but it's good enough. And again, it is a stock shell. The second stock shell is the M456A2 Heat FS round with 1173 meters per second mass velocity, significantly slower, but not really bad, and 400 millimeters of penetration. Then, as a rank 1 upgrade, we have the M393A2 hash round, and 732 meters per second. That's really bad. 127 millimeters of penetration is also not outstanding, but it's the hash effect. It's the great post-penetration damage effect that is really desirable. So if you have somebody tracked around the corner, or you have just a very tiny part of, let's say, the roof armor to shoot, then this shell is pretty good. Again, 5-second reload, so that is pretty nice. As a rank 2 upgrade, we have the M416 smoke shell, which is nice. You have some smoke grenades, but you have no ESS. Engine smoke system, yeah. And then you have finally, as a rank 4 upgrade, the DM63, and this is one of the best 105mm APFSTS rounds in the game as far as I can tell, with 436 millimeters of penetration, positive normalization, 252 millimeters at 60 degrees angles of attack, and 1455 meters per second is also pretty nice. Yes, that's a bit slower than the stock shell, but it is a heavier warhead, and it seems like it has the long rod modifiers. And this is actually the shell that I'm using. So this is the tank in numbers. And is it really desirable? Well, that is actually up to you. I really like the add-on era armor, although it's not really effective, it at least looks cool, like the skin that you can buy for 200 golden eagles. But, you know, this is just a drop on the hot stone, as we say here in Germany, and it is not really improving the performance, should we say. So when it comes to the performance, when it comes to the effectiveness on the battlefield, I'd say it is practically a medal or a coin with two sides. First, it is not really directly competitive versus the majority of used main battle tanks. On the other hand, it is slow enough that if you just go forwards, it is very often, surprisingly, and again, this is something that I cannot point out my finger at why that is, it very often is at the right time, at the right place, to surprise the enemy that rushes forward. So you're countering those who have faster vehicles that just run forward. But that's not really an objective selling point for a vehicle, right? So I have my doubts with this tank. It is just too slow, it's too sluggish, and while the gun is good and has good reload, the handling of it again is sluggish, and the protection is also not pretty good. And while you have a lot of machine guns, as you could see, versus this helicopter, it leaves things to be desired if again the damage models of helicopters are buffed. So this leaves the tank in the meh category. As you can see, you can engage enemy M60s pretty nicely, such as the M60 Rise P, but effectively versus the most used main battle tanks that you effectively come across, this is nothing to be desired. And look at the situation. I tried to swing the turret around and depress the gun, but I was not quick enough, and so the other guy got a shot into me. And my gun barrel is out, or my gun breech is out, my turret ring is jammed, I'm on fire, and yeah, I can tank here a few shots, but he's not really aiming all that well, is he? So I tried to mark him, I tried that one of my teammates is in the vicinity to shoot him, but no, and 54-second repair time, that's quite a long time. And then he sets me on fire, interrupts my repair, I extinguish immediately and burn down nevertheless. Oh, the joy of top tier. So those have been my first impressions on the cosplay M60. The tank has good things going for it, but it has more bad things going for it, and I think that I'm not really a big fan of this tank. But the tank has its fans because of its historical role or whatever, or because you have good experience in it. If so, let me know in the comment section. Let me know also if you agree or disagree with my points of view, and as usual, please give this video a like if it did, subscribe if you want to see more, and as usual, we will see each other on the waves, in the skies, and on the battlefields of War Thunder.